Okay, in this exercise we're going to talk about the very basics of web page design. And the reason why we're doing that is that I know we all have Facebook and Twitter accounts, and there are other social media type situations where you want to put your show on, and that's perfectly all right. But every once in a while you just want to have a simple website, and that is where your archives are going to be also. So you might as well dress it up just a little bit. So here's an example of a previous website for MU Radio. And this was a show called Brunch with Brandy. And she customized it just a little bit. And really this is all you have to do. But you would, at the very minimum, I would put a picture on your site and a brief biographical information and information about the show, just stuff that people would want to know. And there, of course, are the show archives. So let's talk about how one would do this. Here in Dreamweaver, we had an index page open earlier, and this is a very basic index page. This is what we start with. Just going to scoot this over so it's easier to see. And as you can see, the show archives are there, and there's basically nothing else, just basically a welcome, and it says the writer's block up here, and that alone is not all that important. So what we can do is we can change the title. So if I highlight any part of that and go to code, I can see in the code view, there it is. And so in this case, I'm going to change the title to the MU voice that we've been using. And I'm also going to go up to the very top of the code here, and the title bar here, this is what the browser window will say. I'm going to call that the MU voice as well. If we go back to design view, you'll see that it doesn't really change all that much, but the MU voice is there. And these are multimedia elements that are going to show up anyway, no matter what you do. And then basically, you just simply have to modify the rest of the text. Now, let's start with something simple. What about that whole business with the color? If we go to the design view and we go to page properties, you get this dialog box here. And there's a lot you can do here, and this is going to be true of any HTML editing program. So let's start by changing the background color. Right now the background color is black, and she went with a kind of a lavender. So if we apply that, there it is. And you can also change the color of the text. Right now the text is white. You could make it say a light blue, for example, or something like that if you wanted to. And what about putting in a picture? Well, that's relatively simple. Now let's say, I'll close this window out. Let's say I'm there at the bottom of the words, and I want to add the image below that. So if I go into code view, there it is. And what I want to do is I want to get out of that H1 tag. See, the H1 tag defines the headlines. I just want to make sure I'm not in that, and I want to add the picture there. And so if you see, if I'm in design view, I still look like I'm in roughly the same place. And if I go to insert image, I'll get this dialog box that looks for an image, and pretty much all I got to do is find the folder, and we're going to use the same profile image she used, and I'm just going to hit OK. And I can put in alternate text, but in this case I won't. And there it is. And so if you look at the code, all it did was to create an IMG tag with the reference to where that image is. Now that has to be the same. Now ideally you don't use subdirectories or directories, just have the code in the same place as the image and it will work fine. So normally it would just look like that. Just the name of the image, because it's going to be in the same directory as everything else. Okay, so last thing, let's say you want to add a link. Let's say you want to add a link to somewhere else, and you want it to be right after that image. So let's say I want to go to my favorite radio station. Insert hyperlink. And it's already chosen the text, and all I would have to do is put in the full web address. So that'd be http://www.muradio.com. And now that's a link. And when you save it and you click on that, it will go to the MU Radio website. So there's all kinds of things that you can do with this information. And the idea is to simply customize your website so that your listeners can learn something about you, and that you can update this information daily if you want to, or you can just have a basic board that tells people something about your show. But you should do something.